On the high-speed train, my best friend wanted to showcase a new kind of girlfriend power. She insisted on lifting the suitcase onto the luggage rack all by herself. Halfway through, she lost strength, and the suitcase came crashing down on my head. It caused damage to my brain tissue and cost me my job. Yet, to stop me from seeking accountability, my boyfriend faked the scene of me falling off a cliff. At the edge of the cliff, he cut the vine I was holding onto. Xiao you can't ruin someone else's life just because your own is destroyed. Momo is already filled with self-blame and pain. Let her go, and let yourself go too. Let's just treat it as a fresh start, okay? His wish came true. When I woke up again, I was back on that high-speed train. Tears welled up in my eyes. This isn't a scumbag. This is a turtle in a wishing well. When I woke up, I was momentarily dazed, until I heard Lee Momo's familiar voice. What are you standing there for? Lift it, we're women of the new era. How could we possibly not be able to lift a box? What's the point of relying on men for everything? I realized I had been reborn, discovering I had a chance to dodge fate's giant pendulum. I was so excited my eyes welled up with tears, but then Lee Momo dramatically exclaimed, "Wow, Songyu, are you serious? All I asked was for you to lift a box. Is that really worth crying over? Being a delicate workhorse is outdated. Sister, you need to step up your game. Lee Momo is my best friend. She's unemployed and staying at home, and she particularly loves tagging along on business trips. Since I work in the exhibition industry, I'm often on business trips to other cities for more than 10 days a month. Lee Momo insists on coming with me, claiming it's to help me out. It's basically a free trip, after all. When she comes out with me, she can stay in my hotel room for free, and I can lump her plane and high-speed rail tickets into the client's expenses. When it comes to meals, she always plays dumb and says, can't you expense these? In my previous life, I pitied her for not having a job, so I accepted all of this by default. At this moment, I just want to beat up my past self. Did Notre Dame de Paris explode, leaving you homeless too? Seeing that I didn't speak, Lee Momo clicked her tongue loudly. Forget it, I'll do it. Let me show you what the new girlfriend power is all about. With that, Lee Momo snatched my suitcase and made a move to lift it onto the luggage rack. I quickly held it down, pretending to be delicate. Isn't that a bit much? I'll just find a strong guy to help me. Actually, I said the same thing in my previous life, but Lee Momo loudly mocked me as a daughter vine, insisting on carrying the box alone. As a result, halfway through, she ran out of strength. Just as the box was about to fall, she panicked and screamed, "Xiaoyu, help!" I stepped forward to assist, intending to push the box up together, but to my surprise, Lee Momo withdrew her hands as soon as she saw me approach. Caught off guard, the 24-inch box filled with documents slammed heavily onto the top of my head. At the time, nothing seemed seriously wrong, just a large bump swelling up and a bit of dizziness. I comforted Momo, telling her it was okay. Who would have thought that 24 hours later, I suddenly started vomiting violently and then fell into a coma. When I woke up, I was shocked to find that I couldn't speak. The doctor said that my brain tissue was damaged, and I had missed the optimal rescue window, which led to aphasia. The company compensated me with 100,000 yuan and then persuaded me to resign. Meanwhile, my boyfriend, who worked at the same company, took the opportunity to hire Lee Momo. Unemployed and staying at home, I became irritable. To prevent me from holding Lee Momo accountable, my boyfriend Pei Jin deceived me into going up the mountain and fabricated the false appearance of me accidentally falling off a cliff. On the edge of the cliff, the will to survive made me cling desperately to a vine, but I couldn't speak, unable to call for help, and could only look at Pei Jin with pleading eyes. Yet he personally cut the vine. Xiaoyu, you can't ruin someone else's life just because your own is destroyed. Momo is already filled with self-blame and pain. Let her go, and let yourself go too. Think of it as restarting your life. Okay. 3. In this new life, I've come to understand many things. For example, Lee Momo didn't just tag along on business trips to take advantage. She was more interested in finding a wealthy husband. Most of the business undertaken by the exhibition company I work for involves client appreciation events. To put it bluntly, it's about taking high-quality clients out to have fun. Although these people may not be considered top-tier wealthy, their conditions are certainly not lacking. Lee Momo is currently searching for suitable targets among them. Although her hands were on the luggage, her eyes were darting around the entire carriage. This was a first-class carriage, filled with many of our clients. Lee Momo clearly wanted to attract their attention, but the clients were either catching up on sleep or handling business matters, and no one paid her any mind. Instead, a middle-aged man gave him a thumbs up. Good girl, you've got guts. I really admire independent and strong-willed girls like you. Exactly. People are always talking about gender equality. When it's time to put in the effort, she acts all delicate and begs for help. See, I just helped a little girl carry her suitcase upstairs. If you can't lift it, why bring such a big suitcase in the first place? Seeing someone praising her, Lee Momo immediately chimed in. Exactly, what era is this? How can someone not even be able to lift a suitcase? Just taking the chance to act spoiled. The female college student nearby couldn't listen any longer and stood up abruptly. If you can lift it, why don't you carry all the suitcases in the entire carriage next time? And you, college girls are just so logically clear, criticizing this one and then that one. She turned to the middle-aged old man. I gritted my teeth and bought a first-class seat just so I could put my suitcase inside the seat. What's wrong with me not being able to lift it up? I didn't even ask you for help. You're the one who insisted on carrying the box up for me. I've been worried for 3 whole stops, wondering how I'm going to get it down later. The old man felt embarrassed and muttered to himself, falling silent. Seeing this, Lee Momo quickly spoke up for her ally. Hey, how can you talk like that? Did they help you for nothing? The female college student couldn't be bothered with her. If I scold you, I'm afraid people will say I'm competing with other women. Forget it, you speak so nicely. You must have wiped your mouth after using the bathroom, right? Lee Momo hadn't even realized it when the train started moving. I seized the moment to interrupt her. All right, hurry up and put the suitcase up there. I even bought you some milk tea. You can drink it while you watch the show. Upon hearing there was a bargain to be had, Lee Momo immediately stopped arguing. She mustered all her strength to lift the suitcase, straining so hard that veins bulged on her neck, yet she still couldn't manage to pick it up. The suitcase thudded heavily back to the ground. I pretended to be concerned. Just leave it if you can't lift it. Pei Jean, give me a hand. That's right, my boyfriend was sitting right behind me, but just a moment ago, he was as still as if he were dead. Let me struggle in front without offering to help. I wonder what I saw in him in my past life. Seeing me call him, Pei Jean slowly stood up. I told you not to pack so much stuff. What if I wasn't here? Who would you turn to for help? I pointed irritably at a backpack by my feet. Take a good look, Director Pei. All my personal belongings are in this bag. The suitcase is filled entirely with company documents. It's because you didn't approve the mailing fee that we have to carry it by hand. Pei Jean is the company director, one level above me. The budget for this event has been exceeded. Afraid of being blamed by higher-ups, he started nitpicking over small expenses in every corner. Even though it would only cost a few dozen yuan to mail it to the event venue, he insisted we carry it in person. Pei Jean was left speechless and had no choice but to step forward to help, all the while muttering under his breath, "Look at Momo, how independent she is, you should learn from her." Upon hearing this, Lee Momo felt like Popeye after eating spinach. Her hands no longer ached, and her back no longer hurt. She bent over to pick up the suitcase, deliberately accentuating her curves. No need, I can manage on my own. I'm not like Xiao Yu. The 24-inch suitcase filled with contracts was really heavy. Lee Momo's arm trembled as she raised it halfway, and her speech began to stutter. The suitcase wobbled dangerously, teetering on the edge with the swaying of the train. Just like in her past life, Lee Momo shouted at me, "Xiao Yu, save me." This time, I was determined to dodge the hammer of fate, so I didn't move, only stammering helplessly, what should we do then? I'm just a delicate daughter flower. How could I possibly lift a box? It looked like Lee Momo was about to give out. Pei Jean stepped forward to play the hero and rescue the beauty. Let me handle this. Before he could finish speaking, the box came crashing down, landing squarely and heavily on Pei Jean's head. With a loud thud, Pei Jean let out a pained cry and collapsed to the ground. Lee Momo let out a scream. "Brother Pei Jean, are you okay?" "Your brother Pei Jean is fine. It's just that the great hammer of fate swung around and gave him a good whack." For Pei Jean was momentarily stunned by the blow, unable to speak for a full minute. Then, coming to his senses, he waved his hand. It's fine, it doesn't hurt at all." With that, he pushed off with both legs and stood up. Standing nearby, I kindly reminded him, "Go straight to the hospital after you get off the high-speed train. Getting hit by something can be serious or minor." It's not that I feel sorry for him, mainly because in his previous life, he acted like a turtle in a wishing well, which brought about my rebirth. I'll pay him back once. Who would have thought Brother Turtle wouldn't appreciate the gesture? Waving his hand dismissively, "You think everyone is as delicate as you?" Me. Lee Momo didn't even drink her milk tea or watch her show anymore. She was busy taking care of Pei Jean. one moment she was wringing out a towel for a hot compress, the next she was fetching water for him to drink. Every now and then, she would even give a massage to the big bump on his head. Pei-Jean grimaced in pain, but he didn't tell her to stop pressing. I suspect there was something wrong with his head even before he got hit, but since the two parties involved were enjoying themselves, I just did my duty as a background prop, happily sipping my milk tea and catching up on my drama. During a break from the restroom, I wanted to check if Pei-Jean had been taken care of to death. Who would have thought that with just a glance, I happened to see Li Momo shedding tears of self-blame, while Pei-Jean was gently wiping them away for her. Noticing that I had seen them, Pei-Jean preemptively bristled with guilt. "What are you looking at?" I was just comforting her. "That's all, don't make a mountain out of a molehill." There was a familiar intimacy between these two, clearly not something that had developed overnight. Who knows when they might have gotten involved. I only regret that I was blind before and failed to see the private affair between you two, but it's not too late now. Hee 5. Li Momo continued to press from the back seat. "Brother Pei-Jean, was I wrong to strive for self-reliance? And I even got you hurt." Pei-Jean gulped down the motivational talk. "Striving is not a sin, besides, you've been taking care of me too." The corner of my mouth twitched. "Hard work is indeed not a sin, but before you put in the effort, shouldn't you know your own limits? It's not so great when it ends up dragging others down." Li Momo was coaxed into smiling through her tears. "You're so wonderful, Brother Pei-Jean. I really envy you for finding such a great boyfriend like you. Unlike me, I've never really known any boys since I was little." "She must treat you very well, right?" Pei-Jean's gaze fell on the back of my head. "She's not as sensible as you are. Look, I'm injured, and she doesn't even know to come take care of me." I sneered coldly. "At first, Pei-Jean said he liked independent women. I worked hard in my career, but now he complains that I don't take care of him." Torn between gulping down green tea and chicken soup, I ended up going to the bathroom 6 times in a row. Finally, the high-speed train arrived at the station. Pei-Jean and Li Momo got off the train side by side. Left behind on the luggage rack, the 24-inch suitcase seemed to gloat at me. Sharing my misery was the female college student from earlier. That middle-aged old man got off halfway and didn't even help her with her suitcase. We exchanged a glance. Maybe, together, we helped each other take the suitcases down. The female college student was panting heavily from exhaustion. "Miss, your boyfriend's hand has already reached into your best friend's clothes," I corrected. "Ex-boyfriend." Before we parted, we added each other on WeChat. The verification message they sent was, waiting for the follow-up. 6. Because I needed to check the materials and confirm the venue situation, so I was the last one to return to the room to rest. But when I walked into the room, utterly exhausted, everything before my eyes instantly made my blood boil. The standard room had 2 single beds. At that moment, Li Momo was sprawled out arrogantly on one of the beds. A family-sized bucket of fried chicken was also spread out on the bed. The milk tea by her hand had leaked a bit, with coffee-colored stains already seeping into the bedsheet. Meanwhile, she was lounging with her feet propped up, scrolling through short videos. From time to time, she wiped her greasy hands on the bedsheet, and on the other single bed that belonged to me, an open suitcase lay conspicuously. The pitch-black wheels rubbed against the bedsheet, so disgusting it made my scalp tingle. Before I could even react, Li Momo beat me to it and complained, "Why did you come back so late? Oh, by the way, I left the receipt for the takeout on the table. You transfer the money to me first, then you can use the receipt to get reimbursed. Your company's process is so lengthy, I can't wait that long." I was so angry that I laughed. Farting from the "but is just for fun, but when it comes to real gas, you're the expert." Li Momo was stunned, looking at me incredulously. "Song you, what's gotten into you? It's just a little money, isn't it? You can't take your work frustrations out on me. I even went out of my way to come help you. I'm not sharing a room with you tonight. Hurry up and arrange an empty room for me." Actually, Li Momo and I didn't always share a room before. For events like this, our usual practice was to book 2 extra rooms as backups. Moreover, clients are also an unpredictable factor, with frequent last-minute absences. In most cases, hotel rooms are more than sufficient. These empty rooms cannot be refunded, so Li Momo often ends up having one all to herself. Looking at the self-assured Li Momo before me, I can only feel that my judgment in choosing men is just as poor as my judgment in choosing women. I took out my phone, opened a photo, and shoved it right in front of her face. "What exactly did you help me with?" "Helping me warm my boyfriend's hands." The photo on my phone was exactly the one the female college student had just sent me. Pei-Jean's hand tucked inside Li Momo's clothes. The two of them were like dry wood meeting a raging fire. if they weren't in a public place, they would have started making a baby right then and there. A flicker of guilt flashed across Lee Momo's face, but she quickly regained her confidence and said with righteous indignation, "If you were charming enough, would he be trying to get his hands on me?" I was stunned. What kind of twisted logic was that? I really don't want to argue with her, so I get straight to the point. Get out of my room. Also, I've already refunded your return high-speed train ticket. From today on, we're even. After throwing Lee Momo and her luggage out of the room, I felt completely at ease. Just as I was about to tidy up the room, an emergency arose at the venue, and a colleague called me to resolve it. I rushed to the venue, feeling utterly overwhelmed as I tried to put out one fire only for another to flare up. Bai Zong, the company's general manager, walked over to me with a serious expression. "Song Yu, someone has reported you for misappropriating company resources." I was stunned. Everyone in the meeting room was stunned. Colleagues, suppliers, and hotel liaison personnel all turned to look. The parties who had just been arguing fiercely over the resolution of the big screen, their faces red and necks thick with anger, suddenly mastered peace and love in the face of gossip, instantly falling silent to watch the drama unfold. Following behind President Bai were the smug Lee Momo and the indifferent Pei Jin. Lee Momo accused me with righteous indignation. "Xiao Yu is actually very vain, knowing full well that I don't have a job. She deliberately made me come along on every business trip just to show off her power and status in the company, and even went so far as to cover all my meals and accommodation, just to see me overwhelmed with gratitude. Actually, I think this is really not good, but Xiao Yu is a very strong-willed person, so, every time, I can only do my best with the work I'm capable of, so I don't feel so guilty." I was so shocked that I was left speechless. Just because I refused to be taken advantage of by her anymore, she can twist the truth like this. At this moment, Mr. Bai looked at Pei Jin. "Is that true? After all, Song Yu is your girlfriend. Did you know she was doing this?" Pei Jin's gaze was as if looking at a stranger. "I don't know, but I propose to fire her." 7. Boss Bai was also in a difficult position. Actually, such things are quite common in the exhibition industry. As long as it's not brought into the open, everything is negotiable. It could even be considered a hidden perk of the company, but once it's laid out on the table, it becomes an issue that must be addressed. After all, if it's ignored, wouldn't that be encouraging everyone to take advantage of the company? Mr. Bai looked at me with some reluctance. Then, I suddenly interrupted him. "Mr. Bai, may I say a few words?" Mr. Bai nodded. I turned to look directly at Lee Momo. She seemed a bit guilty and avoided my gaze. "You mean every time I go on a business trip, I take you along to take advantage of the company, right?" Lee Momo didn't hesitate. "Right, you even ask for receipts when I order milk tea, saying you'll reimburse it later, but in reality, you've never given me back any of the money you claimed. You just pocketed it all yourself. You even said that once you get promoted, you could even roll my rent into the company's accounts for reimbursement, and then I'd have to give you half of it as a kickback." Watching Lee Momo's imagination run wild like an unbridled horse, I urgently called a halt. "Do you have any evidence for what you're saying?" Lee Momo was stunned. "What evidence do you need? Isn't my presence here the best evidence? If you weren't covering my food and accommodation, why would I pay my own way to come with you? Do you think I'm a fool?" I nodded. "You really don't seem like the big fool. But there is indeed a fool somewhere else." As I spoke, I handed my phone to Mr. Bai. "This is the spreadsheet I put together. Lee Momo has indeed been traveling everywhere with me on business trips, but her transportation, accommodation, and meal expenses, I paid for all of them out of my own pocket. These are my payment screenshots and corresponding invoices. You can verify with the finance department, and it's not that I insisted on her coming, rather, she insisted on tagging along. The company's financial director is a trusted subordinate personally promoted by Mr. Bai and would never cover for me." Mr. Bai immediately called her to verify, and the conclusion was, every single cent was paid out of my own pocket. Lee Momo was dumbfounded. She thought that since she had nothing to lose, she had nothing to fear, even though she had no substantial evidence in hand. As long as she planted a seed of doubt in Mr. Bai's mind, she could bring me to utter defeat. She resented me for driving her out of the room and was even more jealous that I had a respectable job. Perhaps this friendship had long since soured. The company colleagues all looked at Lee Momo with angry eyes. After this incident, the company is bound to strengthen its management. Hidden benefits will become increasingly scarce. She has encroached upon everyone's share of the pie. Whispers of discussion arose from all around. Now I've truly seen a living Gimme in the flesh. I kindly brought her out to relax, and she turns around and bites the hand that feeds her. "Song Yu even paid for her out of her own pocket. If I had a friend like That, I'd be laughing in my dreams, but she wants to ruin her. Lee Momo, bathed in the strange gazes of the crowd, flushed bright red and looked toward Pei Jean for help. My ex-boyfriend, who often seemed serene as if in eternal slumber, finally snapped back to reality and slightly raised his voice. All right, it's just a misunderstanding, everyone, get back to work. As a director in the company, no one wanted to openly defy him, so they all fell silent. Lee Momo looked at him with admiration in her eyes, just as the two were about to get heated again. Unfortunately, Mr. Bai, completely missing the romantic tension, patted Pei Jean on the shoulder. Your girlfriend must have been wrong this time. Hurry up and comfort Xiaoyu. Ha ha ha. He probably meant to lighten the mood, but clearly missed the mark. Pei Jean looked at me with a disapproving gaze. If you've been misunderstood, just explain it to the leader in private. There's no need to make a big fuss and embarrass the young lady. Will you be this unapproachable when dealing with clients in the future? Boss Bai was stunned. Xiao Pei, I know you keep work and personal matters separate, but you don't have to be so strict with your girlfriend. Before Pei Jean could speak, I interrupted Boss Bai. You've misunderstood. I've already broken up with Pei Jean. As I spoke, I accidentally projected that photo onto the big screen. The room erupted in an uproar. Holy shit, that's so intense. Oh my god, and this is on a high speed train. Am I the only one feeling sorry for Song Yu? She's really been stabbed in the back. The one who cried out the most miserably was the hotel manager. The big screen can't show this. Turn it off quickly. It took several loud shouts from President Bai before the scene finally quieted down. All right, let's put an end to this matter. Everyone, please go back to work. Song Yu, I appreciate you making the trip. Please take me to the airport. Before leaving, I couldn't help but glance back at Pei Jean. Lee Momo tightly held his hand, as if declaring her sovereignty. She seemed afraid I would regret it and compete with him for Pei Jean, but what I was thinking was, why hasn't Pei Jean shown any symptoms yet? At this time in my previous life, I had already started vomiting. Is Pei Jin's head particularly hard? 8. On the way to the airport, Mr. Bai praised. I actually know that many colleagues bring their families along on business trips. This isn't a big deal, just consider it a hidden company benefit, but I never expected you to hold back, preferring to pay out of your own pocket rather than take advantage. I focused on driving. I'm just used to never putting myself in a position where I'm in the wrong. Having a clear conscience is my greatest confidence. Mr. Bai fell silent for a long while. You are a clever person, but not clever enough. He said that Pei Jean was particularly targeting me. Actually, it's related to the recent promotions at the company. Mr. Bai is about to be promoted, and the vacant general manager position was originally supposed to be filled by Pei Jean. However, through several recent projects, the company's senior management has recognized my abilities. They are currently discussing whether to promote me from my current manager position to a higher level. I suddenly understood. No wonder Pei Jin's attitude towards me has done a complete 180. No wonder in the previous life he hated me to the bone, even wanting to put me to death. All of this stems from the possibility that my position might surpass his. Pei Jean is 3 years older than me and has always had a bit of a chauvinistic streak. How could he possibly tolerate a superior who is younger than him, or even more so, when your superior is also your girlfriend? Boss Bai, do me a favor, the promotion is still under discussion, and it's anyone's game. You should reflect on why your information is so outdated. On the surface, I showed a grateful expression, but deep down, I didn't think much of it. He's trying to win me over just to build his own team, but I will not forget, in my previous life, after my incident, it was he who personally fired me. 9. Since President Bai had to leave due to an unexpected matter, Pei Jean became the highest-ranking person at the event site the next day. He was dressed in a white suit, standing confidently in the venue, with Lee Momo following behind him. Her face flushed with shyness and a string of red marks on her neck. Obviously, these two finally got hot and heavy last night. But Pei Jean, whether he was exhausted or something else, was acting really strange. He was inexplicably excited yet inexplicably listless at the same time. With a feverish look in his eyes, he randomly grabbed a colleague. Xiao Bai, you go, buy me a cup of iced banlangen. No ice, 3 parts sugar. The colleague was confused, but didn't dare to speak. The only person in the entire company with the surname Bai is Mr. Bai. Could Pei Jean be imagining something at this moment? The clients had not yet arrived, and only colleagues from the company were present. Everyone gathered around. Are you all right? Do you need to go back and rest for a bit? Pei Jean, without any explanation, pulled over a colleague who was 1.9 meters tall and weighed 230 pounds. Rest? No need, I'm fine, let's continue. as she spoke, she reached out with a dreamy expression, kneading the excess fat on the burly man's stomach, even twisting and squeezing that lump of flesh. The burly colleague was stunned. Although I really want to become a full-time employee, I still prefer to go through some proper channels. Could you please stop kneading? The burly man could bear it no longer and finally picked up Pei Jin like a chick, setting him aside. Just then, Lee Momo, who had just gone to the bathroom, returned. Seeing me standing in front of Pei Jin, she instantly rushed over in a flash. Song Yu, what are you trying to do? This is my boyfriend. The corner of my mouth twitched. I think you should know, people don't fight with dogs over shit. Someone noticed Pei Jin's condition was really off and muttered quietly, ever since Boss Pei was with that crazy woman yesterday, he's been acting a bit off too. Could he have caught it? Lee Momo was about to tell Pei Jin not to speak to me, but as soon as Pei Jin looked up, she couldn't help but let out a scream. It was clear that the pupils of Pei Jin's two eyes were noticeably different in size. The left pupil was only slightly larger than a pinprick, while the right pupil was even larger than usual. Looking particularly eerie, Lee Momo took a frightened step back. My heart suddenly skipped a beat. These are symptoms of a cerebral hemorrhage. Pei Jin isn't just being stubborn, his condition might be even more serious than mine was in my previous life. I couldn't help but speak up. It could be because he hit his head yesterday. Let's take him to the hospital. Lee Momo was like a cat whose tail had been stepped on. Do you have to drive a wedge between us? What good does that do you? The burly colleague couldn't take it anymore. Are you suffering from persecution delusions? What if something really happens to him? Who could bear the responsibility? Lee Momo sneered coldly. Aren't you just afraid of taking responsibility? What could possibly be wrong? It was just a light touch, not even bleeding, getting paid so much, yet can't handle the slightest thing. One sentence managed to offend everyone around. The colleagues' expressions all turned rather unpleasant. Just then, customers began arriving one after another. Everyone hurried to greet the customers, and Pei Jin seemed to snap out of it at that moment. What happened to me? Lee Momo shot me a sideways glance and said, as if seeking credit, they were trying to stop you from speaking on stage just now. How mean. Luckily, I demonstrated the new era girlfriend power and argued fiercely with them. Pei Jin affectionately patted her head. I really can't stand watching this anymore. Birds of a feather flock together. These two are equally crazy. 10. At the opening of the appreciation event, Pei Jin confidently took the stage with his speech in hand. Thank you all for your presence. If it weren't for all of you, if it weren't, how do you pronounce this character? Pei Jin suddenly seemed to have forgotten how to read. He anxiously paced around the stage a few times. Then his legs suddenly gave way, and he fell flat on his face on the stage. He struggled a few times to stand up, took a step, and then knelt down on the stage again. Confused client asked suspiciously, is this a planned skit? It's actually a bit interesting. On stage, Pei Jin struggled to stand up again, wanting to finish his speech. If it weren't for, before he could finish speaking, there was a sudden, splat, sound. A stream of yellow, foul-smelling liquid flowed down Pei Jin's pants. It was particularly noticeable on the white suit pants. Someone exclaimed, holy shit, President Pei shit himself. The scene instantly descended into chaos. The client, overwhelmed by the stench, desperately rushed outside the venue. Hotel staff, unaware of the situation, pushed their way in, driven by the belief of fighting for the company to the end, and the instinct of, holy shit, it stinks so bad, I'm gonna die. My colleagues began a mental tug-of-war. Lee Momo took a few steps back, wanting to run, but I grabbed her tightly. Get him to the hospital right away. Lee Momo reluctantly helped Pei Jin, who was covered in feces, to move outside. I then arranged for someone to communicate with each client one by one. First, apologize, and then organize the clients to go to the golf course. The event will last about 2 hours, then take them directly to eat, and the afternoon fishing will proceed as scheduled. Make sure to soothe the client's emotions. After that, I negotiated compensation with the hotel. Pei Jin's incontinence was quite severe. The entire carpet was beyond saving. The hotel is demanding compensation. After dealing with a pile of mess, I finally remembered Pei Jin and Lee Momo. I searched the scene but couldn't find any trace of them. I breathed a sigh of relief. It seems they've finally been taken to the hospital. 11. Who would have thought that around 2 in the morning, after a tiring day, I was sound asleep when suddenly I heard someone knocking on the door. I got up yawning and found it was Lee Momo. She still carried a faint smell of feces all over her. I subtly took 2 steps back. Lee Momo, however, remained completely unaware, as if nothing had happened. Mimi, go check on your boyfriend, he seems to have lost his voice. Me, whose boyfriend? Me, really? Seeing Lee Momo trying to pull me toward Pei Jin's room, I couldn't help but ask, weren't you supposed to go to the hospital? Lee Momo awkwardly smiled and rubbed her hands together. I don't have that much money on hand, I thought I'd let him sleep and see if he could get better. Me, got it. Seems like he didn't get better, so he's back to being my boyfriend again, I said firmly. I'm not going, call 120 yourself. As I spoke, I tried to close the door, but Lee Momo pushed against it. Then at least give me some medical expenses. I was sleepy and tired, just wanting to go back and fall asleep. After all, it was still a little life, so I casually tossed her 2,000 yuan. Banknotes were scattered all over the floor. Lee Momo knelt on the ground, picking them up one by one, but I didn't want to see her in such a sorry state anymore, so I turned around and went back to my room to sleep. Early the next morning, a bombshell piece of news left us all reeling. Lee Momo never took Pei Jin to the hospital. Pei Jin had a seizure yesterday, the scene was too intense, and Lee Momo got scared, so she took the 2,000 yuan medical fee I gave her and bought a high-speed train ticket to run away. There was no other way. The company colleagues scrambled to send Pei Jin to the hospital. When he was carried out of the room, Pei Jin was still conscious but unable to speak. He saw me in the crowd and looked at me with a pleading gaze. At that moment, I was also very serene, because Mr. Bai sent word that due to my excellent performance in saving the situation yesterday, the promotion list has been finalized. When I go back, I will be General Manager. Song 12. By the time Pei Jin was sent to the hospital, he had already missed the golden window for emergency treatment. The suitcase hit him on the head, causing damage to his brain tissue, resulting in neurological deficits. In short, he was left with hemiplegia. His right limbs completely lost the ability to move voluntarily and could only be passively moved with assistance from others. Pei Jin was dumbfounded. After being discharged from the hospital, he simultaneously sued my company, Lee Momo, and the third party at the same time. He also attempted to pressure us with public opinion. Uninformed netizens voiced their support for him. Helping his girlfriend lift a suitcase led to hemiplegia, and she broke up with him. Is there any justice? What a poor guy. Support holding them accountable. Amidst the widespread support, a netizen with the username, "Whoever touches my suitcase, I'll get mad at them," stepped in. Did you see the whole thing before joining in the criticism? Netizen retorted, none of your business. Did you see it? The other party responded succinctly, I saw it. Then a video was released. It was the entire process of the altercation on the high-speed train. Lee Momo overestimated her own strength and insisted on lifting the suitcase independently. Pei Jin refused to approve the shipping fee, forcing the employee to transport it in person, and then the two of them were like a raging fire. Whoever touches my suitcase, I'll get mad at them. Comment. At the time, I thought it was too explosive and wanted to film it to show my best friend. I didn't expect the follow-up to be even more explosive. Unlike Pei Jin's vague accusations, this is solid, undeniable evidence. Meanwhile, colleagues from the company also reconstructed everything that happened at the venue. The netizens who were used as pawns were furious. Buddy, have you ever thought, this might be your karma? How dare you sue your ex-girlfriend? But I support you in suing the company and the other woman. The company is indeed in an awkward position, as Pei Jin's case is considered a work-related injury. They are demanding an exorbitant compensation of 30 million, but Mr. Bai had a backup plan. Pei Jin, who was wheeled into the company, stared in disbelief at the evidence before him. Mr. Bai said coldly, the matter of you embezzling company funds for gambling, if the company pursues accountability, you could face at least 10 years in prison. Moreover, we have the right to demand the return of the embezzled funds. Faced with irrefutable evidence, Pei Jin had no choice but to silently withdraw the lawsuit against the company. At the same time, I released the evidence I had in hand, including no less than 5 reminders for him to go to the hospital for a checkup. There is also surveillance footage from the hotel hallway where I threw 2,000 yuan at Lee Momo and asked her to take Pei Jin to the hospital. Netizens' sharp comments. Girl, is your hometown the Notre Dame de Paris? You've been more than fair to that cheating man, can't find any responsibility here. The girl even reminded you to get checked at the hospital, but you didn't go. Now you're trying to hold someone accountable. Have some shame. The court's ruling came down, confirming that I bear no responsibility whatsoever. On the day Pei Jin came to the company to resign, I was the one who signed off for him. Pei Jin gazed at me for a long time. Xiao Yu, I had a dream. In the dream, the person hit by the suitcase was you. Later, I personally cut the vines. Did all of this really happen? To this, the only response I gave him was, call me President Song. Thank you. Pei Jin is not well liked in the company, because he puts on airs and loves to shift blame. Although his colleagues didn't go so far as to kick him while he was down, they didn't give him a friendly look either, and not a single person spoke to him the entire time. Pei Jin didn't take any personal belongings with him, he only took the panda plushie I had given him. The receptionist told me that when Pei Jin left, he buried his face in the panda plushie and cried. Hilarious. Go ahead and cry then, just had to make sure everyone saw it, clearly trying to soften my heart. But not this time around. 13. I thought Pei Jin would completely disappear from my life, but not long after, Pei Jin suddenly sent a message. Xiao Yu, can we meet? I really regret it. I want to transfer all the money in my name to you as compensation. I'm not the slightest bit moved by this. There's no such thing as a free lunch, unless it's laced with pesticide. Not only did I not reply, but I also blocked Pei Jin right away. The next time I saw him, it was on the TV show, Legal Report. Pei Jin had already become a cold corpse. It turned out that Pei Jin firmly believed everything in the dream had truly happened, thus, he wanted to start over again, but the problem was he was afraid of pain and didn't dare to gamble with his life, so he was prepared to sacrifice someone else's life. Initially, he intended to lure me over, but who knew I didn't fall for it. He settled for Li Momo as his second choice. Li Momo fell for the trick and took the bait. I really went to his house, but Pei Jin mistakenly overestimated his own strength. Li Momo was cautious and did not drink the tea that had been tampered with. The two of them started fighting. After Pei Jin became partially paralyzed, he was no match for her at all and was stabbed to death by Li Momo. After Li Momo was arrested, she insisted that she had acted in self-defense. She went through various channels to ask me for help. Could you help me find a lawyer? I don't want to go to jail. Aren't we best friends? I couldn't help but roll my eyes. The intermediary dutifully made a trip and personally delivered this eye roll to Li Momo. Finally, because Li Momo brought a fruit knife for self-defense when she went to Pei Jin's house, therefore, the court found her guilty of negligent homicide and sentenced her to 7 years in prison. At the same time, I submitted my resignation letter. I always couldn't figure it out. Is the salary not high enough? You just got promoted. Your future is limitless. I smiled. Accepting the promotion was just a stepping stone. I used this as leverage to switch to Company A. My salary increased, my position was promoted, and I moved further away from the company's factional struggles. Thus, the previous life has completely come to an end. No more gloom. After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. After my officer husband, Qing Pingyun, defended his pregnant comrade's widow, Zhou Yu, and slapped me hard in front of everyone, I have awakened memories of my past life. I know that my husband, Qing Pingyun, is conspiring with Zhou Yu to swap the child in my womb. Knowing how things would unfold, I quietly went to the hospital and aborted the 3-month-old fetus in my womb, continuing to feign pregnancy. Neither Qing Pingyun nor Zhou Yu knows that the child in my womb is already gone. They continued to wait for me to give birth, just as in the previous life, ready to slander and frame me. 6 months later, Qing Pingyun and Zhou Yu, who barged into my delivery room with a child as black as coal, intending to swap with me, were both stunned. In the autumn of 1977, when I was 3 months pregnant, my husband Qing Pingyun returned from a mission and brought back a woman with a swollen belly. Qing Pingyun briefly explained to me that the woman he brought back was named Zhou Yu. Zhou Yu is the widow of his comrade in arms, and like me, she is over 3 months pregnant. He promised his fallen comrade to take care of Zhou Yu and the child in her womb. Knowing that Zhou Yu had lost her husband and was living alone while heavily pregnant, I sympathized with her situation and readily agreed to let her stay. Qing Pingyun said that Zhou Yu is a college student from the city who has never done any heavy or laborious work, so I took on all the household chores, while Zhou Yu, being pregnant, didn't have to do anything. All she did was eat, drink, sleep, and have fun. Meanwhile, also pregnant, I not only had to go to work at the office but also had to do Zhou Yu's laundry, cook for her, and take care of her. Zhou Yu not only didn't do any work, but she was also very picky about food, clothing, and daily necessities. In this era of material scarcity, aside from eating refined rice and white flour every day, Zhou Yu, she also wanted to eat meat and eggs every other day, and constantly snacked on little treats, because even though Qing Pingyun gave all his salary and allowances to Zhou Yu, it still wasn't enough to cover her extravagant spending. Unable to keep up with Zhou Yu's lavish lifestyle, Qing Pingyun actually set his sights on me. He wanted me to take out the hard-earned money I had saved up for raising a child and give it to Zhou Yu to use. I'm not feeling very happy. I consider myself not to be a petty person. I've always felt sympathy for Zhou since hearing about her husband's death, and I've been taking good care of her since she arrived. They say to put yourself in others' shoes. I thought that since everyone has a heart of flesh and blood, and since Qingpingyan and I are not wealthy, our lives are quite tight, so you would at least have some conscience and understand our difficulties. Unexpectedly, she did not. She spent Qingpingyan's salary without any burden, ordering me around and acting high and mighty, even though I was also pregnant. I don't know if it's because pregnant people are more sensitive, but I always felt that Zhou treated me like a servant or a nanny. Feeling uneasy, I privately and tactfully brought it up with Qingpingyan. Qingpingyan scolded me angrily, saying I was overthinking and that I couldn't handle things properly. He warned me to have the grace to tolerate it. It really bothered me that Qingpingyan didn't stand by my side as his wife but kept speaking up for Zhou instead. I don't know if I'm being too sensitive, but I always felt that Qingpingyan was a bit different towards Zhou. I couldn't quite put my finger on exactly what was different until that night, when I got up in the middle of the night and saw Qingpingyan and Zhou hugging each other. After I discovered them, Qingpingyan and Zhou quickly separated. Qingpingyan explained that Zhou had been grieving over her deceased husband in the middle of the night. He was just comforting Zhou as a friend. I remember very clearly that when I saw them hugging, I didn't notice any expression of sadness or distress on Zhou's face. Although I didn't quite believe Qingpingyan's explanation, I still chose to trust him, until one day, Aunt Sue from the same compound reminded me, "Winter Orchid, I know you're a good person, but don't let your kindness be misplaced, lest you end up helping count the money after being sold out. Keep a close eye on your own husband, and don't let some shameless vixen lure him away." Auntie Sue's words were ambiguous, but I took them to heart. After pondering over it, I couldn't help but feel that the vixen she was referring to was Zhou. After all, Zhou always had a reason to call Qingpingyan for everything, acting even more justified than I, his wife. My unease grew stronger, so I started observing Qingpingyan and Zhou more closely. The more I watched, the more something felt off. Qingpingyan spends several times more time with Zhou than I, his wife, do. Whenever Zhou needs him, Qingpingyan is always on call. Qingpingyan will go to great lengths to satisfy whatever Zhou wants, but for me, he has never shown any initiative in caring. Whenever I need him, he is always with Zhou. Qingpingyan has made me endure endless grievances for Zhou, and he actually sees it as perfectly justified, without a hint of remorse. I may be slow, but I'm not stupid. After sensing that many things were off, I took the initiative to ask Qingpingyan to have Zhou move out. Qingpingyan refused and had a big argument with me. Qingpingyan completely disregarded me as his wife. After the argument, he went straight to stay overnight next door with Zhou, and even secretly took the salary I had just received to buy snacks and snow cream for Zhou. When I found out, I was so angry that I lost my temper. In a fit of rage, I made a scene in front of all the neighbors in the courtyard. Humiliated, Qingpingyan was filled with rage and slapped me hard across the face. Even though I was over 3 months pregnant, I was slapped to the ground by Qingpingyan, blood trickling from the corner of my mouth. As the metallic taste filled my mouth, a sudden memory flooded my mind. It was a life I had once lived, following the exact same path. When I was 3 months pregnant, Qingpingyan brought home Zhou, who was also pregnant, and then devoted all his efforts to her, completely neglecting me, his wife. Then I realized their unusual commotion was publicly reprimanded by Qingpingyan, who slapped one of them in the face. In my previous life, after being slapped, I swallowed my pride and continued to watch Qingpingyan help Zhou, continuing to serve them like a beast of burden. This life of swallowing my pride lasted until I gave birth. Zhou and I gave birth on the same day. She gave birth to a healthy and adorable boy, yet I gave birth to a pitch-black baby. Qingpingyan was furious, accusing me of improper conduct and having an affair with an old African man behind his back. I was unable to defend myself, and no amount of explanation was of any use. Unable to accept my betrayal, Qingpingyan went straight to our supervisor and divorced me. Abandoned by Qingpingyan, I became a laughingstock, a worn-out shoe that everyone mocked and shunned. I was fired from my job and, holding my dark-skinned child, was driven back to the countryside. Everyone mocked and humiliated me, and there was no place that could take me in. Later, Qingpingyan, out of consideration for our years as husband and wife, gave me a way out. His mother had fallen from the mountain while gathering firewood and was left paralyzed from the waist down. Qingpingyan asked me to take care of his mother. With nowhere else to go, I accepted Qingpingyan's kindness and dutifully cared for his mother in the countryside, tending to all her needs for a full 30 years. I endured hardship and suffering in the countryside. while Qingpingyan steadily rose through the ranks and became a high-ranking official. He married Zhou Yu and lived a prosperous life with her child. 30 years passed in the blink of an eye. After Qingpingyan's mother passed away, I was left in the countryside, worn down by illness and suffering, barely clinging to life. As I was on the verge of death, Qingpingyan and Zhou Yu returned with a child, revealing the truth to me in my final moments. Zhou Yu was Qingpingyan's beloved, and the dark-skinned child was hers. To protect Zhou Yu from criticism, Qingpingyan schemed to swap my child with theirs. With the truth exposed, I died with deep resentment, while Qingpingyan, Zhou Yu, and my child lived happily as a family of 3. The experiences of my past life flashed before my eyes like a revolving lantern. I slumped to the ground, the taste of blood filling my mouth. Less than a meter away from me, Qingpingyan was looking at me with disgust in his eyes. Meanwhile, Zhou Yu clutched her stomach, pitifully crying out in pain, claiming the baby was in distress, yet her eyes held an unmistakable, malicious smile. Qingpingyan abandoned me and rushed Zhou Yu to the hospital, while the onlookers scattered like startled birds. I wiped the blood from the corner of my mouth and stood up. Since fate has granted me a second chance, I will settle old scores and repay old grudges. I have no intention of keeping this child. I want to see how Qingpingyan and Zhou Yu plan to scheme against me without this piece of flesh in my belly. That very day, I went to the hospital and terminated the pregnancy. While I was lying on the operating table, Qingpingyan was busy attending to Zhou Yu, who was feigning a stomachache, in a nearby hospital room. He doesn't know I've already gotten rid of the baby in my belly. He doesn't care what happens to me. His mind is completely focused on Zhou Yu. It was precisely Qingpingyan's neglect of me that allowed me to rest undisturbed for a few days after getting rid of the child. Qingpingyan only returned with Zhou Yu on the 5th day after I had the abortion. Zhou Yu, delicate and pitiful, was supported by Qingpingyan as they entered my home. Seeing me lying in bed without any reaction, Qingpingyan stormed in angrily, shouting and yelling at me, "Mao Donglan, what are you doing lying in bed? Hurry up and prepare a bowl of sugar water with eggs for Xiaoya to replenish her blood." I lay on the bed without moving, just staring coldly at Qingpingyan. Seeing that I didn't move, Qingpingyan repeated his words with displeasure. "Over there." Zhou Yu covered her stomach and spoke in a delicate, coquettish tone, "Sister-in-law, are you angry? It's all because of my health. Brother Pingyan is worried about the baby in my belly, so he had me stay in the hospital for a few more days. I told him to come back and keep you company, but he just wouldn't listen to me. Sister-in-law, please don't get upset with Brother Pingyan because of me. That would harm the baby in your belly." Don't say. Zhou Yu's tactics are quite high level. Every word is pitiful, but each word she says is provoking me. In my previous life, I was infuriated by her to the extreme, but in this life, I won't get angry anymore. I calmly extended my hand to Qingpingyan. "If you want to eat sweet egg soup, pay up. I'll go buy the eggs and brown sugar." Qingpingyan was taken aback, then flushed with anger. "Are you deliberately asking me for money? You know perfectly well that all my money has been spent on Xiao Yu's medical treatment. If you have no money, what right do you have to order me around? Am I your servant?" I sneered. "Let me tell you, Qingpingyan, if you want to support someone else's wife and child, figure it out yourself. Don't count on me. From now on, if you dare touch even a single cent of my money, don't blame me for being unkind." "What do you mean? Say that again." Qingpingyan angrily tried to come over and teach me a lesson, but I sprang up from my seat. "Say it then, Qingpingyan, you keep saying that Zhou Yu's husband died and she's heavily pregnant, so you need to take care of her. I just can't understand. Zhou Yu's husband died, but does that mean all her relatives are dead and the family line is extinct? Does she really need to come to you, a comrade in arms who's barely even related?" My words made both Qingpingyan and Zhou Yu look uncomfortable. They had something to hide and couldn't respond to me openly and honestly. Zhou Yu wiped her eyes, squeezing out a few tears. "Sister-in-law, if you're unhappy with me and think I'm causing trouble, then I'll just leave." Seeing Zhou Yu turn to leave, Qingpingyan immediately chased after her. I leaned against the headboard, sneering repeatedly. Feeling guilty is good. The days of keeping them on edge are still ahead. During these days of rest after the surgery, I've already thought things through very clearly. Since Qingpingyan and Zhou Yu have been scheming against me from the very beginning, I won't let them off easy either. I won't reveal even the slightest hint to Qingpingyan and Zhou Yu about the fact that the child is already gone. They plan to humiliate me at the cost of my entire life, but I'm not someone to be trifled with. As long as they continue to scheme against me like they did in my past life, I will make sure they taste the consequences of their harmful actions. I will keep pretending to be pregnant, waiting for the day when their true colors are exposed. Moreover, now that I know both Cheng Pingyan and Zhou Yu are no good, I will never repeat the mistakes of my past life by working tirelessly for them like a beast of burden. Cheng Pingyan won't get a single cent of my salary or allowances. Not only that, but all the money Zhou Yu has spent or used of mine must be returned to me. I found all the cash in the house and hid it in a place only I know. I used food stamps to exchange for meat, eggs, and brown sugar to nourish myself every day. I also used cloth coupons to get myself several sets of clothes and a few pairs of shoes. The first step was to secure my belongings to prevent those two despicable individuals from taking advantage. The second step was to figure out a way to uncover the truth about Zhou Yu. Just now, I deliberately tested Cheng Pingyan and Zhou Yu, and those two scoundrels were extremely guilty. My intuition tells me that there is a big secret behind Zhou Yu, and I need to figure it out. Cheng Pingyan chased after Zhou Yu and didn't return until evening. By the time he got back, I had already finished dinner. Cheng Pingyan went straight to the kitchen as soon as he entered, fully expecting to find food waiting for him, but the stove was cold, and there was nothing to eat. With a dark expression, he pushed open the bedroom door. Mao Donglan, what's wrong with you? There's a limit to throwing a tantrum. Are you refusing to cook just to challenge me? Let me tell you, you'd better not push me too far. What will you do if you push me too far? I leaned quietly against the headboard, watching the furious Cheng Pingyan. Seeing my indifferent attitude, Cheng Pingyan was so angry that he blurted out, "If you push me too far, I'll divorce you." Just like in my previous life, Cheng Pingyan threatened me with divorce when he saw I was unwilling to serve him and Zhou Yu like a maid. In my past life, Mao Donglan was afraid that Cheng Pingyan would abandon me, terrified of being gossiped about and judged for getting a divorce. But Mao Donglan, who has already died once, has no such concerns now. I sneered, "Fine, let's get a divorce." Seeing me agree to the divorce without crying or making a fuss, Cheng Pingyan was dumbfounded. "Mao Donglan, do you know what you're saying? Do you know what will happen if you divorce me?" Cheng Pingyan didn't believe I would be willing to divorce him. After all, I had always been obedient and submissive to him. In this day and age, divorce was a major offense, enough to drown someone in a sea of gossip. "Of course I know what I'm saying, Cheng Pingyan. Divorce is fine, but I have conditions." Hearing that I had conditions, Cheng Pingyan immediately breathed a sigh of relief. He thought I was playing hard to get and negotiating terms with him. "I won't accept your demands. Mao Donglan, you only have one path now. Obediently listen and take care of Zhou Yu and her child as before, and I'll consider not divorcing you. Otherwise, I'll go file the report tomorrow." I looked at the self-righteous Cheng Pingyan and laughed. "Cheng Pingyan, I will never help you take care of Zhou Yu again. Don't get the wrong idea. Listen to me carefully. My only condition for divorce is that you must return all the money that belongs to me that you took from me." Cheng Pingyan didn't expect my demand to be about returning the money. He was so angry he flew into a rage. "I have no money. The money has already been spent." "Then I don't care. You must return my money, or I'll go to the leader." Hearing that I was going to find the leader, Cheng Pingyan was clearly taken aback. "Why are you going to the leader?" "To ask why the leader would allow a pregnant martyr's family member to be left unattended." I stared at Cheng Pingyan, speaking word by word. "Isn't Zhou Yu a martyr's family member who lost her husband? Shouldn't martyrs' family members receive allowances and subsidies? Why would a martyr's family member with allowances and subsidies need an outsider like you to take care of her?" "This is due to the leader's inaction. I'm going to help." Comrade Zhou asked clearly why no one is looking after her, a pregnant martyr's family member. As my words fell, an unnatural expression flashed across Cheng Pingyan's face. He had grown accustomed to my enduring humiliation, convinced that by giving me the cold shoulder, ordering me around, and threatening me with divorce, I would obediently comply. He never expected that I would actually make a fuss about going to see the leader. Cheng Pingyan was clearly feeling guilty, softening his tone as he reached out to hold my hand and coax me. "Mao Donglan, what on earth are you making such a fuss about? You're about to become a mother, and all this commotion isn't good for the baby." "I admit I lost my temper just now, but it was only because you provoked me. I apologize, so please stop making a scene. Let's just live our lives peacefully." I shook off his hand and pulled out a piece of paper with the amount written on it. "This is the money you took from me. I'm giving you 3 days. After 3 days, I want to see all my money returned, or I'll go straight to the leadership to sort this out. I mean what I say." Seeing that my attitude was firm and left no room for compromise, Cheng Pingyan had no choice. He stormed out again, slamming the door behind him. I knew he was going to seek help from Zhou Yu. The sight of Cheng Pingyan fleeing in such a panic just now made me furrow my brow. I was just casually threatening Cheng Pingyan earlier. never expected he would actually compromise and admit his mistake. So could it be that Zhou Yu's so-called status as a martyr's family member has some hidden mystery? This matter needs to be thoroughly investigated. These two shameless scoundrels never imagined that I'm someone who has already died once, without me, the hard-working fool. I want to see how they'll manage to live happily ever after. I want to see how Zhou Yu plans to live a good life like she did in her past life. I want them to live in constant fear, unable to eat or sleep well. Always on edge, Qing Pingyan returned 3 days later. Although he hadn't been back during those 3 days, I was fully aware of his situation the entire time. Qing Pingyan, feeling guilty and scared, helped Zhou Yu find a new place to stay outside and went around borrowing money everywhere. He even borrowed money from Aunt Sue, who is close to me, and she specifically stopped me to give me a heads up. I thanked Aunt Sue and went to the hospital to ask the doctor about Zhou Yu's condition. I've always found it strange that Zhou Yu, carrying a mixed-race child in her belly, not only didn't get rid of it but even dared to give birth and scheme against me. How audacious is that? Isn't she afraid of making a mistake and getting herself into trouble? When I got home from the hospital, Qing Pingyan was already back. Over the past few days, he had been borrowing money from everywhere and finally managed to gather the amount I had asked for. Feeling guilty, he handed me the money with a rare smile on his face. I've paid you back all the money. I've also found a new place for Zhou Yu and will try to interfere with her as little as possible from now on. Let's live our lives well together. I took the money, counted it carefully, and then put it away. Qing Pingyan, I'm pregnant and not in good health, so I've quit my job to focus on taking care of the baby. From now on, you must hand over all your salary and allowances to me. Qing Pingyan's expression changed. Why did you quit your job when everything was fine? Didn't I tell you? I'm not in good health. The doctor said I need to rest to prevent a miscarriage. Qing Pingyan didn't want me to quit my job, nor did he want to give me his salary, but he had no other choice now. He was afraid I would make a scene and expose Zhou Yu's affair to the higher-ups, and he was even more afraid that something might actually happen to the baby in my belly. After all, he and Zhou Yu were still waiting to scheme against me. From then on, I spent my days at home eating well, drinking well, reading, and studying to prepare for the upcoming college entrance exam, living a leisurely and comfortable life. But for Qing Pingyan and Zhou Yu, life wasn't so easy. Qing Pingyan no longer dared to openly give all his salary and allowances to Zhou Yu, so he could only secretly give her a portion, claiming it was for his mother. Unable to spend Qing Pingyan's money as freely as before, Zhou Yu's life became increasingly strained. She no longer indulged in lavish meals every few days, nor did she have the money to buy clothes or face cream to dress herself up. Life became difficult for Zhou Yu, who began wearing patched clothes. Due to a lack of proper nutrition, she no longer had the rosy lips, fair complexion, and plump figure of her previous life. Instead, her face turned sallow and became covered in freckles. I eat well, drink well, and sleep well, glowing with health. While studying, I never forget to take time to make things difficult for Zhou Yu. Every few days, I go to ask her whether the martyr's family subsidy has been disbursed and how much it is per month. Faced with my questions, Zhou Yu finds it hard to answer, and later she starts avoiding me whenever she sees me. Days pass like this, one after another. Zhou Yu's belly grows bigger and bigger, and to deceive Qing Pingyan, my belly also swells up as if inflated. Qing Pingyan showed little concern for me and the child in my womb, as his mind was completely preoccupied with Zhou Yu. Because of his indifference, I was able to disguise my pregnancy until the time of delivery without raising any suspicion from Qing Pingyan. Soon, it was time for the childbirth that had occurred in my previous life. Just like in the previous life, Zhou Yu went into labor. Qing Pingyan had called his mother over in advance, asking her to keep an eye on Zhou Yu while he hurried back home to find me. Seeing that I was fine and nothing was amiss, he quickly went out again and returned not long after. This time, he brought me a full enamel mug of pork rib soup. Qing Pingyan handed the soup to me and insisted that I eat it. I know exactly what's going on in my mind. I'm just afraid there might be something wrong with this soup, but since I have nothing to hide, I don't need to worry about anything. So, under Qing Pingyan's watchful gaze, I finished both the ribs and the soup. Seeing that I had finished all the rib soup, Qing Pingyan felt relieved. He didn't leave and kept staring at me. I sneered inwardly, supporting my disguised large belly as I turned and went back to the bedroom. I lay on the bed, closing my eyes and pretending to sleep, hearing Qing Pingyan pacing back and forth outside. He's so anxious now, like an ant on a hot pan, not daring to leave, just waiting for me to make a move. I secretly laughed to myself, lying in bed for over half an hour before pretending to have a stomachache. Qing Pingyan heard me cry out in pain and immediately came in, I'll take you to the hospital, let's go right now." Holding my stomach and moaning in pain, I was helped into the car by Qing Pingyun, and the car sped straight to the hospital. Qing Pingyun had already made all the arrangements, and my hospital room was actually right next to Zhou Yu's. Zhou Yu had been in pain for a long time, letting out pig slaughter-like screams in the adjacent room. After I entered my room and lay down on the bed, I occasionally joined in with Zhou Yu's cries. Giving birth was no joke. Zhou Yu screamed like a pig being slaughtered until midnight, and finally, her water broke, and she was taken to the delivery room. Qing Pingyun stayed by the hospital room the entire time. Seeing Zhou Yu's miserable state, his heart ached to the extreme. He had his mother keep an eye on me, while he actually went with the doctor to accompany Zhou Yu to the delivery room. Watching Qing Pingyun leave, I immediately sat up and waved to his mother. "Mom, I just remembered something very important. I think I might have dropped some money when I changed clothes earlier. I'm not sure if it fell at home or on the way here. Could you go back and check for me? It's about 100 or 200 yuan. Upon hearing this, Qing Pingyun's mother hurriedly left. Listening to the sound of the old lady's footsteps fading away, I sat up and tore off the cotton padding tied around my belly. The show is about to begin. Zhou Yu's delivery was truly difficult. She was taken to the delivery room and struggled for several hours before finally giving birth to the child. The moment he saw the child, Qing Pingyun swiftly wrapped the baby up and hurriedly carried it outside. As he walked out into the corridor, he bumped into his mother, who looked disheveled and anxious. Seeing Cheng's mother, Qing Pingyun frowned. "Mom, didn't I tell you to stay by Mao Donglan's side without leaving for a moment? How could you leave on your own and end up in this state?" Cheng's mother stammered. I just fell in the bathroom. How could you be so careless? Has the baby been born?" It should have been born, right? I saw a swaddling cloth beside her and rushed over to find you." Cheng's mother actually wasn't sure whether Mao Donglan had given birth to a child or not. Upon hearing Mao Donglan say she had lost a few hundred yuan, she immediately rushed back in a panic to look for it. On the way to search for the money, Cheng's mother thought to herself that even if she saw the money, she would tell Mao Donglan she hadn't found it. After all, by tomorrow, Mao Donglan would become a target of public scorn, and she was determined to keep Mao Donglan's money for herself. However, what Cheng's mother didn't expect was that she searched all the way home without finding the money Mao Donglan had lost. Greatly disappointed, Mrs. Qing cursed and grumbled as she turned back, only to be knocked head over heels into a roadside ditch by someone who ran into her. By the time she struggled to her feet, the person who had bumped into her had already vanished without a trace. Fuming with rage, Mrs. Qing returned to the hospital, spewing a stream of foul language all the way. Pushing open the door to the ward, she saw Mao Donglan lying in bed, with a tightly wrapped swaddling cloth placed beside her. Mao Donglan had safely given birth to the child, which relieved Cheng's mother. She immediately rushed to find her son, thinking that if they were going to swap the child, now was the time. Once daylight came and more people were around, it would be harder to discuss. After the mother and son bumped into each other, they hurriedly made their way to the ward. Pushing open the door to the room where I was staying, Qing Pingyun immediately spotted the swaddled baby lying beside me. Qing Pingyun carefully approached me with the child in his arms and swiftly swapped the swaddled baby placed next to me. Just as he succeeded in making the switch, I opened my eyes. "Qing Pingyun, what are you doing?" Qing Pingyun was startled by my sudden question. He forced a smile while holding the child and said, "So you just gave birth to a boy? I brought the baby over to see you." "Really?" I sat up, my gaze fixed intently on the swaddled baby in Qing Pingyun's arms, and emphasized, "But the child you're holding is clearly the one I just gave birth to, isn't it?" Qing Pingyun was caught off guard by my question. His eyes flickered, and he knew he couldn't deny it any longer. After all, he just wanted to sneakily swap the child, never expecting that I would suddenly wake up. Since I was already awake, I might as well go all the way. Qing Pingyun suddenly lifted the swaddling cloth lying beside me and let out a sharp cry. "Mao Donglan, what's going on? How could you give birth to such a child?" Following Qing Pingyun's sharp cry, Cheng's mother rushed over in a few quick steps and tore open the neatly wrapped swaddling cloth beside me, revealing the pitch-black child inside. Oh my God, how could it be a black child? This absolutely cannot be Pingyun's child. "Mao Donglan, you've been cheating on our Pingyun behind our backs. You have no shame, you're despicable." Cheng's mother screamed while pinching the black child's arm hard. The dark-skinned baby, hurt by her pinch, let out a loud, wailing cry. Hearing the baby's cries, Cheng's mother immediately raised her voice and began shouting incoherently, "Mao Donglan, how dare you cheat on our Pingyun behind our backs, you shameless thing." What has my son ever done to wrong you that you would betray him? Like this, if you're going to cheat, at least cheat with a Chinese man. Why on earth would you go for a black man, you heartless creature? You've completely disgraced our Qing family. Cheng's mother screamed and rolled on the ground, throwing a tantrum. Her voice was sharp and powerful, carrying far into the night. Her shouting quickly drew a crowd of onlookers, eager to see the commotion. The room was packed to the brim, everyone staring curiously at the child lying beside me, who was wailing in fright. They watched and whispered in astonishment. How did she give birth to a black baby? Yes, how could it be a black child? Is this from messing around with a black guy? Of course, she must have been fooling around with a foreigner behind her husband's back and got pregnant. Disgraceful. How could there be such a shameless woman? The people who rushed over to see the commotion, upon seeing the black child beside me, were all outraged and joined Cheng's mother in condemning me. In the chaos, Zhu also appeared, seeing the people in the hospital room join the Qing family mother and son in accusing me. A triumphant smile flashed across Zhou Yu's face. She swayed with each step as she went to help the hysterically crying Mrs. Qing on the floor. Auntie, calm down, don't let yourself get so worked up. While helping Mrs. Qing up, she sarcastically remarked about me, sister-in-law. I don't mean to be harsh, but how could you be so lacking in self-respect? Pingyan has been so good to you, yet you secretly fooled around with a black man behind his back. How could you do that to Pingyan? Pingyan held the child in one arm and pointed at me with the other, taking over the conversation. Haven't I treated you well, Mao Donglan? How could you be so shameless? That's right, everyone can see how well Pingyan has treated you. When you were lazy and didn't want to work, he let you quit your job to stay home and rest during your pregnancy. He gave you all his salary to spend as you pleased. You could say that during your pregnancy, he indulged you in whatever you wanted, yet you've done something so disgraceful. You're truly disappointing. Watching Zhou twist the truth and slander me, I couldn't help but laugh. Did Pingyan really treat me that well? From what I know, he spent 29 out of 30 days a month at your place, didn't he? I raised my voice. The house you live in was found for you by Pingyan. Your prenatal checkups were accompanied by Pingyan. All the daily necessities in your home were bought for you by Pingyan, and even when you gave birth, Pingyan was by your side. So are you sure that the Pingyan you speak of has truly been good to me? Hearing me publicly expose Pingyan and her scandalous affair, the onlookers' gazes toward Zhou Yu and Pingyan shifted. Everyone turned their eyes to Pingyan and Zhou Yu, and soon they recognized them. After all, Pingyan had never hidden his assistance to Zhou Yu, to the point that most people regarded them as a married couple. Someone immediately voiced their doubt. What's going on here? The husband never cares about his pregnant wife and is always helping another woman. How does that make any sense? Yeah, I saw this man accompanying this woman to give birth here yesterday. He was carefully helping her up and down the stairs for a walk. I thought she was his wife at the time. That's right, I came for a prenatal checkup before and saw them coming together frequently, always thinking they were a couple. I never imagined they weren't. So, the husband has been involved with another woman during his wife's pregnancy. What kind of situation is this? With such an improper husband, it's no wonder the wife can't go on. Hearing the shift in the wind, Zhou was furious and defended herself in a shrill voice. She's twisting the truth and talking nonsense. Brother Pingyan only helped me because he saw I had no husband. There's nothing improper between him and me, something a shameless woman like you wouldn't understand. Instead of slandering Brother Pingyan and me, you should spend more time explaining this black child. She pointed at the black child lying beside me. You've always been causing trouble with Brother Pingyan because he kindly helped me, and neither Brother Pingyan nor I ever understood why you were making such a fuss. Now I get it. It's because you have a guilty conscience. Isn't it? You're that kind of person yourself, having an affair with a foreigner and being unfaithful, so you project your own dirty thoughts onto Brother Pingyan and me. Zhou was clever and immediately redirected everyone's attention to the black child. Everyone had initially felt some sympathy for me, but seeing the black child lying beside me, they quickly changed their tune. No matter what, you shouldn't mess around with a black person and have a child, right? Zhou immediately chimed in. Exactly. Mao Donglan is a classic case of the thief crying, "Stop thief." She has a guilty conscience, so she sees everything through a dirty lens. Seeing Zhou Yu's smug and confident expression, I raised my voice. This black child is not mine. He has nothing to do with me. She's lying. The child is definitely hers. I saw it as soon as I came in. It scared both me and my mom. Seeing me defend myself, Pingyan immediately added fuel to the fire. Mao Donglan, I never knew you could Be so despicable and shameless. You took advantage of your pregnancy to bully my mother, refused to go to work, and wouldn't even let me help the family of a comrade in need. I've been tolerating you all this time for the sake of the child, but I never expected you to secretly do something so morally corrupt. Let me tell you, this matter won't be swept under the rug. I'm going to report this to the organization right now and let them decide what's fair, as Qing Pingyan and Zhou Yu continued to accuse me one after another. The looks of disgust directed at me grew even more intense. No longer had the heart to argue, simply offering a meaningful smile to Qing Pingyan and Zhou Yu, who were practically spitting as they spoke. Qing Pingyan, Zhou Yu, I hope you'll still be able to laugh later, and laughed this heartily, seeing the sarcastic smile on my face. Zhou Yu's heart sank. That shouldn't be my expression, should it? Shouldn't I, now being condemned by everyone, be panicked, terrified to the extreme, and trying to find ways to beg for mercy and defend myself? Why am I not defending myself or begging for mercy, and even able to laugh? And the two children in the room, the black child placed beside me has been wailing loudly, while the one Qing Pingyan is holding shows no sign of life at all. All these signs made Zhou Yu's heart sink, and she urgently wanted to know the condition of the child Qing Pingyan was holding. Zhou Yu immediately walked over to Qing Pingyan, ready to reach out and lift the swaddling clothes Cheng was holding. At that moment, a stern voice came from outside. We are from the Military Supervision Committee, please make way. The onlookers immediately cleared a path. Upon hearing the voice, several uniformed individuals entered the ward with serious expressions. They glanced at me on the bed, then turned to Qing Pingyan, who was holding the child, and asked sternly, who made the report call just now? I was about to speak when Qing Pingyan cut in first, saying, it's me, I'm reporting my wife, Mao Donglan, for improper conduct, knowingly breaking the law by undermining a military marriage, having an inappropriate relationship with a foreigner, and even having a child. Where's the evidence? The evidence is this child, Qing Pingyan declared confidently, pointing to the dark-skinned child beside me. This is the child she just gave birth to, and the child's skin tone speaks for itself. The leader of the supervisory committee looked at the child beside me, then at Qing Pingyan and Zhou Yu, who was standing close to him, before finally asking me, do you have anything to say, leader? This child is not mine. Qing Pingyan just brought him in to frame me. If I'm not mistaken, the child's mother is the woman named Zhou Yu standing next to Qing Pingyan. It's not me, you're slandering me. This child is clearly yours, Zhou Yu retorted sharply. After listening to the statements from all parties, the leader frowned and spoke sternly. This is outrageous, absolutely outrageous. Take them away immediately. As soon as the leader spoke, the people he brought with him immediately stepped forward and restrained Qing Pingyan and Zhou Yu. Both Zhou Yu and Qing Pingyan were completely stunned. You're wrong, you've got the wrong person. It was Mao Donglan who stole someone and violated discipline, not us. Zhou Yu also cried out loudly, leaders, you've made a mistake. All of this is her fault. It's Mao Donglan who has no shame. She was the one who had an affair with a black man and gave birth to this black child. This child is Mao Donglan's. I am the victim. That's right, I can testify. This black child was born to Mao Donglan. She is the one with no shame. It has nothing to do with my son. You must not arrest the wrong person. My son is the most promising cadre, and he is about to be promoted. The frightened Mrs. Cheng, who was standing nearby, also snapped out of it and began wailing loudly in protest. Watching this scene, I threw off the covers and got out of bed. I enunciated each word clearly. Leader, I was the one who just made the report call. I'm reporting Qing Pingyan for abusing his power and failing to uphold the integrity expected of a soldier. I'm reporting Zhou Yu and Qing Pingyan for their improper conduct and engaging in illicit affairs. I'm also reporting Zhou Yu for getting pregnant out of wedlock with a foreigner, then trying to swap my child and scheme against me. Hearing me articulate their actions behind my back so fluently, Qing Pingyan and Zhou Yu both turned pale. You, how did you know? No, this is slander. You're talking nonsense, leader. You can't believe Mao Donglan. You must not trust her. Qing Pingyan and Zhou Yu never dreamed that I would know their plans so clearly. They tried to defend themselves, trying to convince the leaders that they were innocent. I looked coldly at these two scumbags before me and delivered the final blow. Qing Pingyan, you don't really think I know nothing about your plan with Zhou Yu, do you? Let me tell you, I've long been aware of your and Zhou Yu's wicked scheme. I know you intended to swap my child, and I know you were viciously preparing to make my life a living hell. I'm not afraid to tell you, I've been waiting for this day for over 6 months. Seeing me speak like this, sweat began to bead on Qing Pingyan's forehead. He was still clinging to a last shred of hope. You're talking nonsense. The one who started all this is clearly you. I have witnesses, I have doctors who can testify for me. It was clearly Mao Donglan who gave birth to the black child. Qing Pingyan was unwilling to give up and even attempted to have the doctor he bribed testify for him. He clamored to bring the doctor as a witness, but I had no patience to continue arguing with him. Qing Pingyan, there's no need to trouble yourself with finding a doctor. I'll ask you one question right now. You keep insisting that I gave birth to a child of mixed race, and you keep claiming that you and Zhou Yu are innocent. I want to ask you, where is the child Zhou Yu gave birth to now? It's in my hands, Qing Pingyan replied with confidence. Is that so? Then could you show everyone the true face of the child in your hands? Qing Pingyan saw me staring at him so confidently, and his worry began to grow. Why was the child he was holding not making a single sound? Could there be something wrong with the child? He thought to himself, suddenly realizing that the child he was holding seemed a bit different. Shouldn't babies be soft and cuddly? The black baby he had just been holding, born to Zhou Yu, was clearly soft and tender. Why is the baby he's holding now so stiff, like a brick? This thought made Qing Pingyan's heart sink. Before he could react, I stepped forward and snatched the swaddling clothes off the baby he was holding. I casually threw the baby from Qing Pingyan's hands onto the ground. With a loud thud, everyone looked toward the ground. Upon clearly seeing the child lying on the ground, everyone gasped in shock. It turned out that what lay on the ground was not a child at all, but a brick wrapped in cloth, with several words written on it. Qing Pingyan and Zhou Yu, you two beasts deserve a miserable death. Seeing the words on the brick clearly, both Qing Pingyan and Zhou Yu were dumbfounded. How could it be a brick? Where is the child? Where has the child gone? I looked at Qing Pingyan and replied lightly. The child has been gone for a long time. It's been 6 months since it disappeared. What? How is that possible? Weren't you pregnant all along? The child couldn't possibly be gone. Why not? I sneered, stepping closer to Qing Pingyan. Didn't you feel even a hint of unease when you hit me, your pregnant wife? For Zhou Yu, Qing Pingyan, you were so sure I would give birth to your child without any resentment, so sure I would endure humiliation for you. You and Zhou Yu plotted against me with such malice and shamelessness. Is there any law that says I must follow your wicked plan and give birth to the child? Qing Pingyan was forced to retreat several steps by me. I sneered. I went to the hospital and had the child removed the day you slapped me. I have the medical records, and the doctor will testify for me. So, you and Zhou Yu's attempt to frame and slander me with a black child is completely baseless. Upon learning that the child in my womb had vanished 6 months ago, Qing Pingyan's face turned deathly pale. Meanwhile, Zhou Yu, hiding behind him, glared at me with hatred in her eyes. I could understand how she felt at that moment. After all, a plan that was almost certain to succeed had now fallen apart. Who wouldn't be filled with resentment? I approached Zhou Yu, asking her word by word, aren't you a martyr's family member? Didn't your husband sacrifice his life for the country? I really want to know your husband's name, what he did for a living, and when he sacrificed his life for the country. Can you explain all of this clearly in front of the leaders? Upon hearing this, Zhou Yu immediately lowered her head, remaining silent like a defeated rooster. During these past few months, I haven't been idle at all, investigating Zhou Yu's affairs by seeking out people from all around. Heaven rewards the diligent, and I finally uncovered Zhou Yu's secret. She isn't a martyr's family member at all. She is Qing Pingyan's white moonlight. She grew up with Qing Pingyan, and the two share a deep bond. It's just a pity that Qing Pingyan's family was too poor to afford the bride price for Zhou Yu's family. Finally, Zhou Yu was forced by her parents to marry a carpenter. After Zhou Yu got married, Qing Pingyan also joined the military, rising from a lowly soldier to an officer position step by step. Then, through the organization, he met me, and we got married. Not long after Qing Pingyan and I got married, something happened on Zhou Yu's side. Her husband died in an accident, leaving Zhou Yu without support. She planned to return to her parents' home, but her parents were too cruel. They did not want to take Zhou Yu in. Instead, they intended to sell her to a black man as a wife. Zhou Yu resisted, but in the end, she was assaulted by the black man. Unable to bear living with the black man, she fled and, on the road, encountered Qing Pingyan, who was on a mission. After being apart for several years, the two reunited, overwhelmed with joy, and had endless things to say to each other. Qing Pingyan still held on to his old feelings for Zhou Yu and was always ready to fulfill her every request. Upon learning that Qing Pingyan had become an officer, Zhou Yu was filled with deep regret. She wanted to hold on to Qing Pingyan, someone she could rely on, so Zhou Yu took the initiative to find ways to be with him. Such things become easier with practice, and later on, Zhou told Qing Pingyun that she was pregnant. Qing Pingyun had feelings for Zhou. He couldn't bear to part with her, so he fabricated lies to bring Zhou back and take care of her. Zhou was originally a victim, but due to impure intentions, she became a perpetrator. She and Qing Pingyun began plotting how to get rid of me. Zhou was uncertain whether the child in her womb was Qing Pingyun's. She confessed to Qing Pingyun about her affair with the black man. Qing Pingyun truly loved Zhou. He promised to back up Zhou, and then they came up with the vicious plan to swap the children. In my previous life, they schemed against me successfully, causing me to lose my reputation and die a miserable death. This time, I went to see Zhou's prenatal doctor in advance. The doctor didn't know that I had already fallen out with Zhou and Qing Pingyun, and thought I was concerned about Zhou, so he told me all about her condition. It turns out that Zhou has a problem with her uterus and cannot abort this child. Finally, I understand why Zhou insisted on giving birth even though she knew there was something wrong with the baby in her womb. She didn't dare to go against her own body, nor could she be certain that the child she was carrying was definitely the black man's, so she took a chance, after all, with Qing Pingyun, who loved her, willing to go to great lengths for her and scheme to cover for her. Zhou had plenty of confidence. The exposure of the matter was so thorough that both Qing Pingyun and Zhou lost the ability to defend themselves. The leaders of the Discipline Inspection Commission took Qing Pingyun and Zhou away. The matter came to a temporary end here. The crowd dispersed, and Cheng's mother sat alone on the ground, weeping sorrowfully. This wicked and shameless old woman, who had been so arrogant toward me before, now knows fear after the truth was revealed. Everyone is selfish. Previously, she conspired with Qing Pingyun and Zhou to harm me, and now she actually tries to get me to help her. Winter Orchid, this whole matter is that little bitch Zhou's fault. She's the one stirring up trouble. You absolutely must not blame Pingyun because of her. Pingyun is your husband, and you two are one as a couple. You need to find a way to get Pingyun out. Mother Qing thinks I'm foolish. She believes my heart is filled with Qing Pingyun, and that I would be the fool who toiled for their old Qing family like in my past life. She has miscalculated. I won't help her in the slightest. Not only will I not help her, but I will also stand by and watch her family suffer misfortune. After all, in my previous life, after being framed by Qing Pingyun and Zhou, I had nowhere to go and was forced to serve Cheng's mother, who was paralyzed due to an incident, like a slave for the rest of my life. This very old woman, who pretends to be pitiful, is actually malicious at heart. I was forced to serve her, who was paralyzed, and work like a beast of burden for her, yet she showed not a shred of gratitude. She constantly tormented me, frequently beating and scolding me. In my past life, I was tormented by this old hag for a lifetime, thinking about this old bastard possibly having an accident, becoming paralyzed and never being able to stand up again. I felt extremely happy in my heart. Let their whole family enjoy a complete and joyful life for the rest of their days. The investigation into Qing Pingyun's case progressed very quickly. Due to issues with his conduct and solid evidence of falsification, he was expelled from the military and sent back home. After being detained for several months, Zhou was also released and followed Qing Pingyun back home. The two were finally able to come together happily and joyfully because of love. However, unlike in their previous lives, in their past lives, one was a young and promising officer with no blemishes on his record. The other had not given birth to a child of mixed race and was seen as pure and upright in the eyes of the world. In this life, the two of them were like rats and flies in the gutter, despised wherever they went. The two no longer shared the affection of their previous life. Quarreling every few days, Qing Pingyun was unwilling to raise a child of mixed race, but he could no longer father children. He had been injured during a mission, and the inability to have his own child made Qing Pingyun irritable. He couldn't even manage a kind expression for Zhou, who endured the mistreatment in silence, but her silence was of no use. In the 3rd month after the two got married, Qing Pingyun's mother had an accident. She fell while gathering firewood in the mountains and became paralyzed from the waist down, unable to stand up for the rest of her life. Cheng's mother became disabled and needed someone to take care of her, as she was paralyzed from the waist down. In the past, Qing Pingyun couldn't bear to let Zhou do even a little bit of heavy or tiring work, leaving all the tasks to me, the old servant. In the previous life, after Cheng's mother became paralyzed, Qing Pingyun's first thought was to take advantage of me. No one in this lifetime could help him anymore, and in such circumstances, he couldn't find anyone to rely on. Qing Pingyun himself was unwilling to face his mother, who was incontinent and reeked of filth. Thus, the responsibility of caring for Cheng's mother inevitably fell upon Zhou. A long illness tests even the most filial child, and Zhou was not someone willing to endure hardship or show filial piety. After just a few short days of taking care of Cheng's mother, she threw in the towel and didn't want to do it anymore. How could Qing Pingyan let her leave so easily? At this point, Qing Pingyan no longer had any tenderness or affection for Zhou Yu, resorting to physical violence at the slightest provocation. Zhou Yu was both angry and resentful. She didn't dare to do anything to Qing Pingyan, so she turned her attention to the paralyzed Mrs. Cheng. Zhou Yu felt that all her hardship and exhaustion were because of the paralyzed Mrs. Cheng. Only if Mrs. Cheng died could she be free. The moment this idea surfaced, it lingered in Zhou Yu's mind. Refusing to dissipate, she began to put her plan into action. Though Zhou Yu dared not make it too obvious or deliberate, she persistently started adding rat poison to Cheng's mother's meals, and after half a month of ingesting small doses, Cheng's mother finally met her end. Cheng's mother's death was not a pleasant sight. One of the most prominent after-effects of poisoning is bleeding from all 7 orifices. This is not the way a normal person dies. After seeing Cheng's mother bleeding from all 7 orifices, Qing Pingyan called someone to perform an autopsy. Zhou Yu was arrested again, this time for the crime of intentional homicide. What awaits her is the arrival of the death penalty. While Zhou Yu sits in prison awaiting execution, Qing Pingyan is not at ease, because he is married to Zhou Yu and must raise the black child she had with a black man. What's all this nonsense? Qing Pingyan was unwilling, but he couldn't shake it off. He wanted to kill the little black devil, but so many eyes were watching him. Qing Pingyan didn't want to die, nor did he want to go to prison, so he had no choice but to wait day after day, year after year. I saw Qing Pingyan again 20 years later, by which time I had become a renowned senior engineer. Qing Pingyan is a security guard at one of my subordinate factories. While on duty at the gate, he saw me sitting in a black car, being respectfully escorted out and surrounded as I entered the company building. Qing Pingyan's mouth hung wide open, completely agape. On the day I left the factory, Qing Pingyan recklessly blocked the car, determined to speak with me. I got out of the car holding my hands and looked at Qing Pingyan, who appeared like an old man. He was actually only in his 40s, yet his hair was completely white, and his back was hunched. Such a Qing Pingyan reminded me of myself in my previous life. Back then, I too had lost my vibrancy because of his schemes, and I resembled an elderly woman. How times have changed. I looked at Qing Pingyan and laughed out loud. Qing Pingyan rubbed his hands together. I'm sorry, Donglan, I've wronged you. He fell to his knees before me. Donglan, I was wrong, I was terribly wrong. All these years, I've been having a dream, dreaming of things I've never experienced. I interrupted Qing Pingyan. Really, did you dream of becoming a high-ranking official, marrying Zhou Yu, and enjoying a life of success and prosperity, while I, deceived by your shameless schemes, toiled away in the countryside, taking care of your paralyzed mother until her death? Qing Pingyan was stunned. How did you know? Because I've already lived one lifetime like that. I've been shamelessly manipulated by you for an entire life, given a second chance. How could I possibly bear your child and spend another lifetime slaving away for you? There's no such logic in this world, is there? Qing Pingyan's lips trembled. He wanted to say something, but no words would come out. He had originally wanted to beg Mao Donglan to help him. Qing Pingyan knew that Mao Donglan had always been kind, both in his dreams and before their relationship had soured. She had been a good person. Qing Pingyan was convinced that if he knelt down and apologized, Mao Donglan would forgive him. Observing Mao Donglan's demeanor, he guessed that she was no longer an ordinary person. Qing Pingyan had wondered whether, if Mao Donglan were willing to help, his life might improve. Perhaps he wouldn't have to work as a gatekeeper anymore. For example, there will be improvements in salary and benefits as well. He's thinking too much and too optimistically. I got back in the car and left. As the car sped away, I coldly told the accompanying factory manager, that security guard is someone I used to know. His character is extremely corrupt and low. Aren't you afraid of something happening with someone like that working as a security guard? The manager deeply agreed with my words. I also feel he doesn't seem like a good person. To prevent any negative news for our factory, I'll have him dismissed right away. Qing Pingyan's job was, needless to say, gone. He'd better pray he never runs into me again. I'm someone who holds grudges and repays every slight. For those who have hurt me, I will not show mercy, and I will not kill Qing Pingyan. After all, that would make me legally liable. But I will do everything in my power to make Qing Pingyan's life miserable. Qing Pingyan had better stay far away and avoid me at all costs, or I will never let him off. In this lifetime, Qing Pingyan will live like a rat in the gutter, and he must relive everything I went through in my previous life. Only in this way can I live up to my rebirth and truly punish such a despicable and shameless creature. After hearing the 2 stories above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section, looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.